Hello and welcome to That's a Freebie, the podcast that is so close to 100 episodes. That's right, this is episode number 98 of That's a Freebie, and in episode 100 I will give you the story that I've always promised about how the podcast got its name, and I'll also have a very big announcement at that point as well, so don't miss it. But we've got a couple more to go in between. Let's get started with this week's episode.
Sit back, relax, unless you're driving. It's time for That's a Freebie.
You may have noticed that once again, I am a week late. I was very, very sick over the last couple of weeks. I had COVID, believe it or not. Turns out it is still a thing. I'm sure we all knew that. As you can probably tell, I have still got a little bit of the cough as well. Yeah, it was quite bad. I've had COVID either three or four times now. And this week's was the worst that I've ever had it. It was awful. I was completely bedbound. I honestly, there were points where I couldn't even get up. I couldn't get out of bed. I needed water, and I just couldn't muster the energy to move. Eventually, I forced myself up and I found a COVID test under the sink where we keep, where you keep all your random bits of stuff. I did 2 of them and they both came out as positive. I had to contact the doctor because I needed a sick note for work. When I contacted them, I told them what I needed. And they said, what's wrong? I said, I've got COVID. I told them my symptoms and that I'd done a test and it had come up positive. And they actually requested that I go in, which I was a little bit surprised at. So I went to the doctors, and while I was there, they did a COVID test. And of course it was positive. But I noticed when they did the test, they cut the end of the swab off that they used to swab my throat, and they put it in essentially a petri dish and packaged it. So apparently they send it away now for, I'm assuming it's something to do with studying for the different strains and things like that. I don't know if they do that every time, but yeah, I've never had them do that before. So that was interesting. And then on top of that, the girl has not been well this week as well. She's had tummy troubles. So yeah, it's been a packed week because we've just not been well, but a quiet week because we've not been anywhere and done anything. I have managed to gather together a few stories that I've been saving for weeks like this. So some of these were from, I don't know, a few weeks back. I've managed to keep some of them just in case, because I expected that this might happen. And I have got a slightly longer joke than usual this week to make up for the lost time. It's almost like I plan for this happening every now and then. Health-wise, as I've mentioned before, I started going to the gym. I've started logging my food, trying to essentially lose weight. And it's working. Obviously, the last couple of weeks have made it a little bit harder, but I haven't put weight on, which is good. In total, I've lost about just under 15 pounds, and it does fluctuate. Some days it seems to go up by 5, and then the day after it's down by 5. So maybe it's based on how often I'm weighing myself. I probably shouldn't be doing it every day, really. But I just like to see the changes. And also I find that it helps keep me motivated by seeing what the change is on a daily basis. And it helps me think, if I've suddenly gone up, I might think about what I've been doing in the last few weeks and if there's anything I can do to change it. But it's going well. I've not been to the gym for just over a week now because of being sick and just not being physically capable of getting there yesterday with the girl being off. But it's going well. I need to get back into the swing of it again, which sadly won't be till next week now. Today's a crazy date for a couple of reasons. So as you know, we have a rabbit. You might be able to hear her jumping around in her hutch now because that's what she does every single time I start recording. It's like she can hear my voice and gets excited. That's probably it, actually. That's probably what happens. I should just let her out and let her wander around. I'm always scared of her biting my foot, though, when I'm not paying attention. Although the previous rabbit used to bite me a lot. This one I don't think ever has. But yeah, she needs a 6-monthly checkup. I booked it the other day for today, this evening, in fact. I slowly started to realise throughout the course of today that there is absolutely no chance I will make it this evening. There's too many things on. I'm quite literally triple booked. I don't know why I thought I would be able to make it. For a start, the time that the appointment is the time that I need to pick the kids up from school because they're both on after school clubs this week. They are every week. I don't know why I booked that time. I clearly wasn't thinking about it when I did it. So I phoned the vet up to change the appointment about an hour ago. And they were saying, we can't find the appointments. Are you sure you've got one? And I'm like, reading it off the email. I'm like, yeah, I've got the email here. I've got the booking number. So I took the booking number. And they're like, oh, yeah, you called a couple of days ago and changed it. It's on the system here. I was like, I definitely didn't. Like, yeah. And so 2 days ago, you called and you changed it to Monday the 5th. I'm like, I definitely didn't. They're like, maybe it was your partner? I'm like, no, can't possibly have been. Granted, I haven't had a chance to speak to it yet to double check, but she said to me this morning, don't forget about the rabbit tonight. So I'm pretty sure she didn't call and change it. And also the time that they called as well, she wouldn't have been physically capable of doing. She would have been at work. So yeah, somebody somewhere has called to change their pet's appointment and accidentally changed our pet's appointment by the sound of things. Because we do have this problem every time we go. There are 2 animals with the same name. Well, there might be more than 2 for all I know, because they always struggle to find us. Or they always say, oh no, that's the wrong one. Our rabbit is called Nightshade, but it's spelt as 2 words. The word night as in the nighttime, and shade as in the shade. Night is the first name, shade is the last name. I don't know why they did it like that. Most people would have done it as 1 word, or potentially even had the word night start with a K, which is what they always search for. They always search for Nightshade with a K as 1 word. Anyway, the appointment had been changed, and it had been changed to exactly where I needed it anyway, so it worked out well. So unless some point in the future I find a way to phone call back in time and change it, I don't know how that's happened. I will obviously double check with my wife tonight. She might go, oh yeah, I called and changed it, but I really don't think that's happened. So one of the other things that's on today is it's the boys' big concert. So he's been doing this thing called Rock Steady for a few months now, and it's teaching you how to be part of a band. He's playing bass guitar. He's never played an instrument before. Well, other than violin. He played violin, which he didn't stick with really. But he's been doing this rock steady thing. So he basically gets to play bass guitar in a band. The band is called The Apocalypse, and they're performing the song Another One Bites the Dust by Queen. And that's also today as well. And I'm really looking forward to it. My daughter did this when she was in primary school as well. And funnily enough, it was the same band. He actually took her place when she left primary school, and same instrument. So he literally stepped into her place. We didn't realise that's what was happening when it happened, but it just so happened to work out that way. So he became the new bass guitarist when she left. They did, I can't remember what song they did. I think it was a song by the White Stripes, if I recall correctly. I can't remember what the song's called. No, it's gone completely out of my head there. Anyway, they did that, and he's doing Another One Bites the Dust. So they both get a pretty good bass line in the song, so I'm really looking forward to that. Now, I know she didn't play all of the notes of the bass line. It was quite clever how they did it, actually. So I'm assuming there'll be something a bit like that. He's a bit worried about it as well, because he said he keeps getting confused, because the teacher keeps accidentally saying the wrong thing when they're doing it. Because the way they do it is they point at you and tell you, like, the count. They do the count with you, and they tell you what bit you should be playing and do it that way. And he said it gets a bit confusing because he keeps accidentally pointing at the singers when he should be pointing at the drummer or something like that. So I guess we'll see how that goes. But hopefully it'll go well. I'll be able to let you know next week. What else has happened? So got a couple of stories. One of them is just something funny I saw in a Costa the other day. It wasn't even that funny, but you know where you just see something and you're like, what the hell just happened? I was in Costa. Well, this was probably about 3 weeks ago, actually, thinking about it, maybe even 4 weeks. I really like on a Sunday morning, I go to Costa, I get myself a mocha and some toast, because the toast at Costa is amazing. It is literally just regular toast, but there's something about it. It's the butter. It's a nice salty butter. So I sit there, because I always get to town really, really early on a Sunday morning, just because of the way the transport works. So I arrive about an hour and a half to 2 hours before I'm due to start work if it's a regular shift. So I've got time to spend, which I quite like my Sunday morning. I sit there with my mocha and my toast, and I'll watch an episode of a TV show or something like that. And it's just a nice way to start your morning. Bit relaxing. Anyway, I'm in there, and these 2 women came in and ordered their food, and I was only vaguely paying attention because I was watching whatever I was watching. I can't even remember. The reason I noticed them is it seemed to take them ages to get their food, and they kept walking backwards and forwards. Them that were faffing around, like they were walking up to the counter and picking up 1 cup and then walking back to the table and putting it down. Then they were walking over and picking up the saucer and picking the 1 saucer up. But while they were doing this, one of them was just following and watching the other while the other one was doing all the work. Now, no problem there. Probably they've got shaky hands or something like that. Like, I have shaky hands. I really struggle to carry hot drinks or even a tray of food. It will shake like crazy because I have a tremor in both hands. Seeing them do that just made me pay attention to it because I was like, that's probably what I would do. So anyway, eventually they sat down. But they were you get those people that when they sit down, they have to let the whole room know they've sat down. So they both plonked really hard into the chair, and they were sort of on I was on the bench seat at the back, and they were further along that bench seat, and I must have gone up about 3 inches when they did it, and they both sat down, and you had all the air bust out of the chair, and then they made a big faff of taking the coat. So something was very noticeable is what I'm saying. And I'm watching them out the corner of my eye thinking, well, you shut up, right? And then one of them decided to go to the toilet and couldn't get through the door because it has a code on it, and they're rattling and shaking the door and trying to get in. Then they walked over to the counter and said, can I have the code for the toilet? To which they said, it's on the bottom of your receipt. And she went, well, why can't you just give it me? And she went, well, I don't know it. It's on the bottom of your receipt. I haven't looked at it today. It's automatic. And she's like, oh, and she went, well, we haven't even got a receipt. And they had. It was sat right there on the table. So she walked back to the table, looked at the receipt. So took the receipt to the counter. She's going, it's not on there, look. And she points at it and shows it her. And she asked her to read it to her. So I'm like, oh. So anyway, she read the code out. Then she walked back over and put the receipt on the table, and she sat down, and then she went, oh, I was going to the toilet, weren't I? By this point, I'm like, oh, I should just get up and move. I can already tell these two are going to be annoying. And anyway, she got up, she went to the toilet. While she was in the toilet, the other lady, for whatever reason, I don't know why, she got up and left. So she got up and she walked out the front door of Costa and just walked. I think she went right. I'm not 100% sure which way she went, but she disappeared. So while she were gone, a barista came over and cleared the table. She just walked over, looked around for a bit to see if he could find who it was with. And she looked at me and I went, and she just left. But I think one of them's in the toilet. And she went, oh, she shrugged, picked up the tray and took it, threw it all away. I was like, oh my God, no. So then the other lady comes back from the toilet and leaves, just goes out the front door. Walks back the way towards where the other person went. So at this point, they've both left Costa, right? And I'm thinking they hadn't touched any of that. Like it was still like there was a bacon sandwich and there was what looked like an omelette on the tray. I don't know if it was an omelette, but it looked like it from where I was sat. And clearly 2 full latte glasses. I'm like, what's going on here? And they both left. And then about 10 minutes later, they came back, walked over to the table and was like, where's all our stuff gone? So they walked over to the counter to complain, and the barista was like, you left the building. And they're like, yeah, but we were all, they must have been, I don't even know what they were saying, but they were like, we were just doing this. And they're like, but you left. So anyway, yeah, they made it all again for them, and they let them sit down. But yeah, I don't know how I felt about that one. They clearly hadn't had any of it, but they left, and they were gone a good 10 minutes. They were obviously thinking, oh, while the drinks cool down, we'll go and do whatever, but you don't do that. One of you goes, maybe, not both of you. And then the final one, not final one, there's one more thing after this, and then I'll do you a joke. This one, only a few of you will understand how horrific this is. As you all know, but again, some of you will know more than others, I have a terrible, terrible hatred/fear of eggs. And a few weeks ago, I went to meet a friend in town, in Rochdale Town Centre, because that's where she works. Every now and then I go and meet her at lunchtime. And I went to meet her and her daughter, who's my goddaughter. They work together. So I went to meet both of them, and which was the first time because she's only just started working there with her. I'm sat in Wetherspoons because we always meet in Wetherspoons because it's dead easy. She can quickly text me and say, what table am I at? And she can place her order whilst she's on her way over, and because she's on a lunch hour. And then the food's arrived by the time she gets there, blah, blah, blah. Makes it dead straightforward, yeah? So I text her the table while I'm sat waiting for them. I'm also looking through the menu to order, because usually what happens is I just, once they go, I stay for a bit and finish my lunch, just because it's easier. I don't have to rush then. While I'm sat there waiting, this guy walks over from who works there and just puts a plate down in front of me. And I was like, and I just went, thanks, slid it to one side, assuming it was hers, because I hadn't ordered yet. And then when I looked down, it was a plate, and on this plate were 6 fried eggs. Just 6 fried eggs, all on their own. I was like, and they stank. They were looking at me, flobbing around. It was disgusting. So I pushed them as far away to the other side of the table as I could do, waiting for my friend to arrive, thinking she's done that on purpose. That's a dick move. But she would probably sit there and eat 6 fried eggs just to annoy me. Anyway, she came in and she sat down and she looks at me and she went, "Why have you got a plate full of fried eggs?" I don't know. What do you mean? I assumed it was you. She's like, "No, while that would be a great joke, I haven't actually done that." So I was like, "Oh, well, they've been there for about 10 minutes now." It turned out the guy brought them to the wrong table. He came over a bit later and he said, "I'm really sorry, guys, but I think I've delivered that to the wrong table." I was like, "Yeah, I didn't order that." He's like, "Why didn't you say anything?" I said, "I just assumed it was hers." And he's like, "Oh, right, okay." So anyway, he took him. He was in a right grump about it because obviously he'd been moaned at for not taking him to the right table. But yeah, some random plate of 6 fried eggs. Don't know how you even order that, but it got put in front of me. And it was funny for a whole bunch of reasons. And final story. It's not really a story, but it's more of something that I can finally say I'm doing because I know I'm late on the bandwagon on this one, but I finally started watching Stranger Things. And I know the final series has just been put out there. But that's, I think, why I decided to start watching it. I previously have only ever got up to episode 4. Twice I've started watching and got up to episode 4, and I've enjoyed it, but not enough to want to go back to it because there's been something else on that I was watching. Whereas this time I've nothing else that I'm watching, so I decided to go back and watch Stranger Things, and I'm enjoying it a lot more this time. I assume it's because I know it's complete now, so I know I'm going to get to see the end of it. I'm not going to be stuck in a position where I'm having to watch it weekly because I just don't like doing that often. Not with a show like this anyway. So I've almost finished the first series. I think I've got 1 episode to go of the first series. So I should be able to report to you how that's gone. You never know. I might be able to make it part of episode 100. Who knows? I might finish it by then. We shall see. And so finally, for the end of the show, I have a joke for you. A woman was at her hairdresser's getting her hairstyle for a trip to Rome with her husband. She mentioned the trip to the hairdresser, who responded, "Rome? Why would anyone want to go there? It's crowded and dirty. You're crazy to go to Rome." And she said, "So how are you getting there?" And she says, "Oh, we're flying with Virgin." And she said, "We got a good rate." She goes, "Virgin? Ugh, that's a terrible airline. The planes are old, the flight attendants are ugly, and they're always late." And then she says, so where are you staying in Rome?" And she says, "Well, we'll be at this little exclusive place over on Rome's Tiber River called Test." And she goes, "Don't go any further. I know that place. Everybody thinks it's going to be something special and exclusive, but really, it's a dump." And she goes, "Okay, well, we're going to go and see the Vatican, and maybe we'll get to see the Pope. Who knows?" And the hairdresser goes, "That's rich. You and a million other people trying to see him. He'll look the size of an ant. Boy, good luck on this lazy trip of yours. You're going to need it." You know, proper Debbie Downer. Anyway, a month later, the woman comes back to the hairdresser's after a trip, and she's ready for a new hairdo. And the hairdresser asked her about a trip to Rome, and she says, "Well, actually, it was wonderful. Not only were we on time in one of Virgin's brand new planes, but it was overbooked, so they bumped us up to first class. The food and the wine were wonderful, and I had a handsome 28-year-old steward who just waited on me hand and foot. And the hotel was great. They'd just finished a £5 million remodel, and now it's a jewel, the finest hotel in the city. And they were also overbooked, so they apologised, and they actually gave us the owner's suite at no extra charge." "Well," muttered the hairdresser, "that's all well and good, but I know you didn't get to see the Pope." And the woman says, "Actually, we were quite lucky, because as we toured the Vatican, the Swiss guard tapped me on the shoulder and explained that the Pope likes to meet some of the visitors personally, and if we'd be so kind to step into his private room and wait, the Pope will personally greet me." And sure enough, 5 minutes later, the Pope walked through the door and shook my hand and knelt down, and he spoke a few words to me. And the hairdresser says, "Oh, really? What did he say?" And she said, "Well, he said, 'Who fucked up your hair?'"